Oh, yeah. These are my solar panels. Finally. I'm so stoked. I'm so excited. We just got the first phase of our solar setup on. We made some videos on this a while ago, but this is a 34.4 kilowatt array, or at least it will be when it's done. This is phase one of it. So 50 panels, that's like 21.5 kilowatt or so array. We've got REC 430 watt panels across the board, IQ 8 plus micro inverters. All right, so for every solar panel, we have an associated micro inverter, pros and cons to different ways of doing this. We've discussed all that before, but the bottom line is this is gonna give me, at least if I did it right in open solar, over 43,000 kilowatt hours of energy production. So I'll be able to run my house, I'll be able to run a Bitcoin miner 24/7, I'll be able to run a mini split in the garage, I'll be able to charge the Tesla, which is why we just recently bought a Tesla. But with the solar panels finally on the horizon here, it makes so much sense to get an electric vehicle. We can visit our parents, we can visit friends, we can even go to the beach, charge there and come back. I can tow my track car to 2 of the local tracks, theoretically on paper. We're gonna see if that actually works out. So I got the tow package on the Y. This isn't a video about a Tesla, it's about the solar. It just kind of really all started to come together. So I'm so excited. You know, that car is essentially free to drive. I'll be mining Bitcoin essentially, you know, for free with this one. And based on all my projections between generating SREC, solar renewable energy credits, as well as mining, and then also just not having to pay my electricity bill, right? And this is on my residential service where I pay 14 cents per kilowatt hour. It's a high electricity rate as far as I'm concerned. My electricity rate at the VoskCoin mining farm is about half that. So that's a huge premium to pay to run gear at my house versus a different building on the same exact property. And I'm living here, right? So it's like you're paying your residential electricity bill with taxed money. You know, you're losing on both ends. Taxation is theft. Look at the inefficiency in the government, how much they waste money, and then you pay taxes for what? And I never want to hear again in my life, well, they need the taxes to build the roads. There's countries that you don't pay tax and they have fantastic roads. Just one example, but I'm not trying to get into that debate today. It's just something to think about, if you will. These REC panels, they look good. It was a great experience getting these up. All of this was completed in one day with a big team. And this will just zero out my electricity bill for hopefully, essentially, my whole life. Yeah, obviously, you know, they're supposed to last 30 years. They degrade over time. Stuff may break or whatever, but I overbuilt the system for what I need, with some expansion of like use in electricity in the future in mind. Grid tied 1-to-1, so I don't have any batteries. I'm just banking with my utility here, and that significantly gets my costs down. And even with some panels breaking, if I don't want to replace them, I'll definitely replace micro inverters, because that's the huge pro of a ground mount array. You just saw me walk over there. These things will take me a couple minutes to swap. Easy, super easy. And you know, there's pros and cons. A ground mount is more expensive, but for me, someone that wants to maintain this myself and have an array this big, I didn't have a big enough house for this. Definitely not the proper roof orientation either. This wasn't going on my house. So I'm happy that this is a standalone build and feature here on our property, easily accessed, maintained, and if I need to clean it, no big deal. If I need to clean solar panels on my roof, they're not getting cleaned, okay? I'm not going up there. It's just gonna be something I put off till the end of time. But yeah, my point, even with degradation and loss to this system, I hope and think and believe that I'll be basically good forever on energy production, especially as a lot of things get more efficient over time. This is a huge milestone for me. I've been trying to do this essentially for 5 years. No, it hasn't been at the top of my list. I'm not here to make excuses. I wish that I could have knocked this out sooner, but I didn't. And this journey truly, officially, essentially started about 5 years ago, half a decade. Crazy. If you followed the VoskCoin YouTube channel for a long time, I talked about buying 50 acres and I was gonna build my solar empire and mine and build a farm and everything, and it's gonna be all cool. And then that property imploded, the plans and the regulations and BS over there. And anyway, I bought about a little bit under 100 acres, different spot. And The home build became a nightmare, became very fixated on building out the VoskCoin mining farm. It was a lot more involved and difficult than you'd think. We also just try to make a lot of crypto content and everything else in life. I got married, try to not work every day and spend time with my beautiful pup, Tails, who of course is my first kid that I absolutely adore. Tails has been an absolute blessing in my life. And anyway, before you know it, years and years go by and you're not getting some of your goals done. But it's done now. And this is just the beginning. I'm bringing solar in an even bigger capacity to the mining farm. This was just rapid deployment, generating an ROI, right, a return on my investment, albeit at a premium, and just getting up online and operational. This wipes out my most wasteful electricity bill that I have by far. And now I've got gear here on hand, on site, that I can compare and look at and replicate or tweak and do whatever I want with future expansions. About 8 years ago, instead of building my first GPU mining rig, I just bought one that was pre-built, and then I started building my own. And it was great to have something on hand that worked. And I was a bit out of my league and overwhelmed, and just having that as a comparison piece was fantastic. And really helped speed run me getting up to speed and becoming efficient and effective on that front. And that's how I'm going to view this solar endeavor. I've done a lot of research. I'm really starting to understand and get a good grasp of everything. This is a system that I designed, and I believe it perfectly solves my generation concerns. And it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. I would love if all of the posts, instead of being galvanized, were like matte black. But honestly, I'd say that about most things. Is it distracting that my glasses are tinted and you can't see my eyes? Like, is that making this video worse? Or do you not care? Just let me know down in the comments below, because I'll happily squint for you guys if, that makes the video better. I don't want, feel like I'm, a secret operative interrogating you. So let's run the numbers. It's March in Virginia. What is my generation? How much are my panels producing? And then let's compare it to how much I'm using and what I'm using in my house to create that generation. Because I have been mining in my garage to keep it warm in the winter months, something that I'm not going to continue to do in the warmer months. However, I'm still going to run a Bitcoin miner here at the house just to generate that passive income and stack some Satoshis and increase my ROI, my return on investment, and decrease my time to breaking even on this endeavor. Fought the local government, fought the electric utility. 1.5 months later, I arrive at my destination, and it just needs to be sunny. We got the system online. A bit of a pain compared to what it should have been, but the bottom line is we are energized, baby. The solar system is grid tied, one-to-one banking with the utility. I do not have all the panels up that I would like to have up, but this is what 50 panels looks like. And you can see this is a day of varied sun. That's why it's all over the place. If you're new to solar, hey, I'm new to solar too. We'll work through it together. Here's an example of a nice sunny day. And look at the difference in production. I literally produced twice as much electricity the following day. You also see where the bars really top out here on top. That's called clipping, and basically it's my microinverters running at peak capacity. I have a 14.9 kilowatt AC system. That basically means that I can only produce a certain maximum generation, and it's this. I can never produce more than that much electricity with absolute full sun on all the panels. But when I basically flatline at the top, it's kind of like the opposite of flatlining in real life. Instead of dying, you're thriving. It's a good thing. It's exactly what you want. Mixed cloudy day, pretty sunny day, looking good here. April in Virginia. And we can see, here's an example of what will probably maybe be more average around this time of year. A little bit of a slow start, bam, hit some peak generation for a couple hours. Cloud cover, recovery, taper off. It's surprising how little solar generation happens, say, after 5 p.m. and before 9 a.m. Really, that 9 to 5 window seems to be what it's all about. And let's put it into perspective of what I'm producing, right? This day, 108 kilowatt hours. Look at your electricity bill. Like, how many kilowatt hours are you using per month? And whether or not you're earning passive income mining, we'll talk more about that here. Instead of trading my electricity to the electric company for possibly pennies on the dollars, because you don't get great power purchase agreements when you're a small fry. You got to be generating megawatt after megawatt to be getting good rates. So why not just sell my electricity excess to myself by running a Bitcoin miner? Here's the environmental impact though, which is cool just from a figure point of view. I charged 9,400 phones on the 14th. I planted the equivalent of one tree. We bought about 100 acres and we've been building our house and mining farm and other stuff here in the last several years. Some ignorant crybabies flame me in the comments like, oh yeah, look at you cutting down all these trees and then you're going to use all this electricity mining. You're destroying the earth. Okay, dude. It's called diversification of the ecosystem. We are doing so many things that is making this area thrive compared to when it was doing nothing, just sitting here relatively dormant. Furthermore, with the solar system, I'm going to plant over 400 trees. I'll see what the math comes out to. Probably the equivalent environmental impact of planting 500 trees per year just with this piece of the solar. This is just the first piece we're doing. That's something very cool, or in this case hot, because the panels get toasty in the full sun. And I'm proud of. CO2 reduction, apparently based on recent news, global warming was a propaganda scam anyway, and that whole hole in the ozone layer is actually closing. That aside, CO2 reduction, 100 pounds. Production, 62 kilowatt hours on the 12th. 127.5 kilowatt hours on the 13th. And 109 kilowatt hours on the 14th. How many kilowatt hours would I use per day to run a current generation full-size Bitcoin miner? That would cost me about 82 kilowatt hours per day, which at my residential electricity rate of 14 cents per kilowatt hour would cost me a whopping $11.42, essentially wiping out all of the profitability with the latest generation Bitcoin miner. However, if I'm just generating this electricity, I'm essentially running the miner for free. Yes, I need to pay off the panels. Yes, I need to pay off the miner, but I'm generating SRECs, solar renewable energy credits, so I'm earning passive income with the solar. I'm wasting my taxed money, which is a complete scam, on the electricity bill at the home. And then furthermore, running the hardware, earning Bitcoin. Historically, it keeps going up. You know, we look back in time, it's going up in price through the years. Probably appreciate, gonna hold the coin. And my projection is that I'm gonna break even in 5 to 10 years on the solar system. And if Bitcoin went crazy, maybe even sooner. It's incredible, very cool, very exciting. I have no regrets about this. This was an expensive endeavor. I paid a premium because I did not set this up myself. I designed it. I did not deploy it. You pay a huge premium on labor and buying the parts through an installer, and most of the decent installers will make you, especially if they're big time and work fast, make you buy the stuff through them. So previously I went through all my costs. You can see my spreadsheet where I broke down this option versus this option versus this option, and basically what was my price per watt. I had to trench 300 feet. We dropped 4/0 aluminum, or the installer did. To be honest, I think that wire is a little undersized with 50 panels deployed and then 80 panels in mind, right? So these are 430 watt panels, and then my micro inverters are the IQ8 Plus. The IQ8 Plus by Enphase has a maximum or peak output of 300 watts. However, that doesn't matter because the maximum continuous output power is 290 watts. And let me show you an interesting number. 290 times 50 is 14.5. So excuse me, I said 14.9 earlier. I have 14.5 AC kilowatt power of generation. If you look at the 300 watts, right, times 50, that's going to be an even 15 kilowatts. However, that basically doesn't really matter. It's kind of like audio systems and like the RMS versus the peak output on, say, your subwoofer or your speakers. If you're an audiophile, you may know what that means, and that'll really line it up. When we trenched 300 feet, we also dropped a spare aluminum line in there because we had the trench open, and sort of why not? The biggest expense in that trenching in that scenario, especially with aluminum, is actually not the wire. It's the labor to rent a piece of a trenching equipment or pay someone to bring theirs out, whatever, and then actually complete that trenching function. Currently, the system moves around, I believe, like 98 amps, and then something like 134 with a possible panel expansion. You may notice the screenshots we're using here, they're all in phase. I'm using in-phase microinverters, which leads me to an in-phase controller, which basically gets me in the in-phase ecosystem, the Enlighten in-phase app, and that's going to be the tool that I use to basically review my solar generation, get all my stats there, and then also, monitor my production and any problems, etc. moving forward. What is nice about in-phase is you get all kinds of data from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, lifetime, and of course, custom. You can even look at your array. So for example, here's my array, and you can see its current generation right now, the total production on this array, the lifetime production on this array, and so I could add a second array here to my home. It would be array B, it would have additional generation, stuff like that. But I believe I've overbuilt this here from the front. So looking long term, looking at the Bitcoin mining farm out here at VoskCoin, I'm pursuing more solar on that front, but right now I'm finishing my electrical infrastructure expansion, miner procurement. The tariffs are worrisome from the miner point of view as well as from the solar panel point of view, and just trying to keep things rolling, keep things moving forward without continuously overextending myself. It's really day over day, year over year, all the time. I just feel stretched too thin. And I'm trying to rein that in a little bit, especially with a little guy on the horizon. So exciting times, fun times, busy times. That's kind of where my head's at. This is what I'm doing. But I couldn't be more thrilled about the solar installation being completed, being deployed, have the first phase of it. I'll do an update video on, some further production, a little bit of a solar expansion, peak summertime generation. Very excited to get some more sun, make some more juice, earn some more passive income, and just chase financial freedom. We're generating our own water out here. We're generating our own electricity out here. Is this homesteading? Hey, I'm Vosk. This is 10 Seconds of Tales, our CSO, our Chief Solar Officer here at the VoskCoin YouTube channel. Tales wears many hats. She's very versatile. She's very impressive. And you can tell we take C titles real serious around here. Don't take things too serious. Have a good one. I'll see you later.